Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. This is combo number 2, and this is our first segment of Throwback Thursdays. I'm Tom Flores, and I'm introducing
Travis M. Baker. Everyone.
Travis is one of our friends from combo number 2. Besides just me and Alex, who will be talking about movies with us. He shows a very strong passion for movies. He loves them as much as I do. Met him in drama. This is why he's here. And for our first episode of Throwback Thursday, Travis and I will be talking about
Pulp Fiction, screenplay, and directed by Quentin Tarantino.
Yes, we're going to talk about Pulp Fiction. It's a classic. It's a cult classic, and it's not even a cult classic. That's how good. Yeah, it's just that good. It's just that good.
Yeah, it's mainstream at this point.
Exactly. People love it. People know it. People quote it as much as Goodfellas almost. Almost. Goodfellas is way more quotable. Nothing against it, but almost. So we just rewatched the movie. I've seen it probably almost a dozen times. Travis, what?
I haven't seen it as many times as you, but I've seen. I would say this is probably my 5th time I've seen it. Still a really good movie, though.
So we're going to talk about that. So, movie opens up with the scene in the diner with, what was it, Pumpkin and Honey Bunny? That was their names. The characters' names, Tim Roth.
Yeah.
And they're talking about robbing, like how they shouldn't rob liquor stores anymore because it's too dangerous. They're saying that the people who they rob, they don't even speak English, Sean.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. You think you're talking about it in, hypotheticals, and you don't even realize they're talking about robbing banks until definitely midway through the conversation, and then you start feeling uncomfortable for your sex. Just why are they talking about robbing stuff all the time?
Yeah, right. What do these people do? And then you hear more and more oh, they're robbers. They're robbed. Obviously, they've robbed banks that they're talking about.
Yeah.
They sound like they've robbed a bunch of liquor stores. But what was interesting, it kind of, I would say, shows how old this movie is. Yeah, it's not that old. This movie came out in 94, but to show how old it is time-wise is that people rob restaurants now. And yet they're talking about how no one robs a restaurant.
Yeah, I haven't checked any statistics on that at all. I don't even know if Quentin Tarantino has checked any statistics or if he was just pulling that out of his ass. But, yeah, but that is a good point. It's kind of a cliche, just to rob the liquor store and rob the convenience store. But no, you don't see too much of, oh, they robbed this nice restaurant.
But I've heard how many Denny's have been robbed. Remember that one period in time when even my parents were like, don't go to a Denny's for a while. I'm like, wait, why? Yeah, remember that? How a lot of Denny's were getting just robbed recently? I don't know. I think it hasn't been too much now. But yeah, I just like how they were talking about that back in the early 90s, that was a new idea. Oh, it's probably been done, but not too much where it's common knowledge where any place can get robbed.
It's not a sensationalized. It's not a cliche.
No, a liquor store or a bank. And they don't even look like hardcore mean robbers. They look like a friend, like a sweet couple that everyone rooted for in high school. You know what I mean? Right? They're that couple. Yeah. They have that connection that in high school when people are like, oh, they're dating, everyone rooted for them and all their friends and family because they work. They connect.
He has a British accent and he's living in America. Whoa, we almost knocked the computer down. He has this British accent just cause the actor has one. Probably because Tarantino's yeah, don't pull an American accent if you're not
Reservoir Dogs, yeah. Tim Roth is,
So, yeah, there's no explanation given to that, so you just assume, okay, he's not originally from here, he's raised by foreign parents. It's not important. But yeah, and also, he's wearing a Hawaiian shirt. They don't have ski masks or anything. They don't even try to hide their identity, which makes me wonder, how do they get away from robbing liquor stores and...
Yeah, how did they rob them?
How did they get away? Surely there's a wanted poster out there somewhere if they'd done this and gotten away with it.
Because they're so casual about it. And the way Honey Bunny's characters it is dressed, how she's dressed and portrayed and shown to us. Honey Bunny is in a dress, kind of pinkish, maybe off pinkish, but more of a pastel. But it's kind of she could have came out of Sunday church with that outfit, right? She could have came out of that outfit. Yeah, it's it's not expected of how these people are because they're just they talk casually. Yeah, sure, they're robbing. They're not good people, but they're so nice and talking with each other. He was rude to the waitress, but she was so nice to her and thank you so much. And she's so sweet and girly. And then right when they decide to rob the bank, she just turns and she's just cussing like a sailor, more than him. Because she's crowd control. That's the point. She controls the crowd while he's just doing doing just quitting then the money, and she's the one putting people in their place.
I feel like in since we can talk about the opening scene, but this happens repeatedly throughout this entire movie and many of his movies. I feel like when he just writes his screenplays, like he has an outline for it's like it's got to go this way, got to go that way, got to go that way, and especially in movies, say like. I mean, this is very different since it's told in a non-linear format, and back in the 90s, that was, like, a new thing. It's like, what? You can tell the story or stories out of order? But, like, in other films, like Django, you know, there's definitely a straightforward formula to it, but there are these scenes where people just talk, and it's like he just sat down on his typewriter, and then he didn't want to go to that next step just yet. He, like, talked out loud. Like, I remember hearing an interview with Aaron Sorkin, who writes similar to Tarantino without as much language, but again, very conversational in his dialogue with his stuff. And he says, you know, he just sits alone in his office and talks to himself and gets very physical in his room, just with himself. You'd probably think he was cuckoo, but what he's really doing is trying to map out the conversation. And, well, something he said is, you got to say the words out loud. And if you can't say them out loud, how can you expect your actor to say them out loud?
Okay. I also heard about his writing style is that because there's always a good soundtrack in all his movies, that he'll have music playing.
We're talking about Tarantino,
yeah,
right?
Tarantino's
We're not talking about Sorkin anymore.
No, sorry, yeah.
I'm a huge fan of Sorkin. Sorry about that.
But when Tarantino sits down and writes, he'll have music playing that fits the atmosphere of the movie. So he could have been having all that music that we saw for the soundtrack for Pulp Fiction playing for each scene while he's typing it up, and they just repeated. Like I remember, I believe this was on Stephen Colbert show. I believe recently he did an interview.
His new late night show.
Yeah, his new late night show. He was talking about he was using an example of Jackie Brown, that he had all this funk music, you know, a lot of soul and R&B playing for Jackie Brown because that's what he wanted, and he would just replay the same song over and over again for a certain scene and where he's typing for lines. So for this, when he's in his room just typing Pulp Fiction, these just separate scenes, the main song playing for each one, he'd be like, oh, you know, just keep going and going and going until like saying the lines out loud himself, talking to himself. He probably wrote them in his screenplays as well, just like this song is playing from here to there. I know he's very crazy like that in his writing. I heard when he wrote Django, what he did was like he actually wrote very specific sound effects for the gunshots. It wasn't just simply, oh, people shoot at each other. No, it was like he had it mapped out how many shots each person fired, and then what each sound effect sounded like, at least to him, and he wrote it out phonetically, like pa-chow, pow, boom. Okay. And I guess he went to the sound designer's like, what the hell is this? He was like, oh no, pa-chow is this button, presses a button, boom. Oh! There's definitely a method to his madness. Okay, so then back to Pulp Fiction. So after the beginning diner scene, after they draw their guns, and she's like, you know, if any of you fuckers move, I'll execute every last motherfucker. It goes straight to the main title, the list of the actors, credits, and then I like how the radio switches. They're like, you know, Jungle Boogie, and I think I like that too because even though it's still just the credits, the first opening credits rolling with all the actors, and you know the main title dissolving away in the background, like going back farther away.
Like it was the Star Wars logo.
Just not going up, just straight back. It changes. It's like you hear the radio station change, and I like how that sets. It's this nice subtle touch how it changes to like we're in a car. Before, kind of like how remember Reservoir Dogs was blacked out, and you're hearing the music, and you hear Tim Roth's character screaming because he got shot. For this one, there's a change of the tune to show like, oh, someone's changing the radio in a car because that's what the cars sound like.
Yeah, there's a dial.
And then boom, we're in the car, and and then we have John Travolta and Samuel Jackson's characters, Jules and Vincent. Boom, just hanging out and talking. They're heading towards their job. Their hit. They got to. I wouldn't say they're doing a hit, because they have to retrieve, but they gotta like take care of what Marcel Wallace sent them out to do, and they set up establishing their connection. Like I would say, their characters they're friends, but not like friends that hang out outside of work because they're professional with each other. They're like the good friends at work, but they don't hang out that much because they have moments of where like they say back the hell off. Not as friends though, because friends would kind of let the banter go further. As like a dude, you're crossing a line, and I don't know you that well yet. So I feel like that's what the dialogue throughout the whole movie, how Tarantino wrote those characters' relationship is that they're just very, very good coworker friends. Yeah,
I'm sure like had Jules decided not to go on a path to Providence in the end, I'm sure they probably would have eventually become friends that would just hang out. I mean, you saw in their car, I mean, they go on a tangent about what they call quarter pounders and freaking, was it France?
It was
Amsterdam.
No, I think it was France.
It was France?
But he traveled a little over Europe. He was stationed in, because I believe it was France because they call it, what was it, a Royale with cheese, right? Mm-hmm. And then, because the Big Macs, I love Big Macs.
Something about the way they say Royale with cheese makes me want to eat a McDonald's hamburger, which, you know, that's saying a lot of how good that writing is if it makes me want to eat a McDonald's burger.
But
which would make me heave otherwise.
I could probably eat it. I like those.
That being said, that Big Kahuna burger looked really appetizing.
Did. I want to find one after that. Yeah, I like how they're talking about with the French fries, the mayonnaise. I've never done that. To me, mayonnaise only belongs on a sandwich. Like
that's how I've always eaten them.
Sliced ham or sliced turkey and cheese. I don't even do it. I've done it on a burger a few times. Like when I'm at home, when I was younger at home, my mom made burgers. But now it's like I can't think of doing that. I can't. Like, I don't know why. Mayonnaise to me is just sandwich only, and then putting it on fries. Like, the most I've done is ranch with fries.
Okay. I've done that before.
Yeah, and like you put ketchup to make like barbecue, quote unquote barbecue sauce. Like that's what they call when they're younger. Yeah, I know. And then
I've done that.
It's pretty tasty. It's there's a little zest to it, different zest. And then so after the car ride, talking about the differences of terminology amongst, you know, the different cultures from American to European, you know, Amsterdam, how, you know, difference of like what you can do when carrying marijuana, smoking marijuana like that. After they park in front of the apartment, I like the shot of them, the camera facing outward from the trunk.
Oh, who doesn't like that shot?
It's a great shot. It's a fantastic shot that they do.
50% of student filmmakers try to repeat their shot.
You've seen that a lot in your classes, huh?
You know what's the worst? Yeah, the worst thing, because I go to film school and at Cal State Long Beach, and I've seen other people's like student films, and a lot of them just like kind of make me mad sometimes, where it's just like, stop trying to copy someone else's style. They're like, I want to make a Quentin Tarantino film, or I want to make a Wes Anderson film. It's like, how would you, like, for me, it's like, I don't want to make a Tarantino film. I don't want to make a Wes Anderson film. I want to make a Travis Baker film.
Mm-hmm. With slight influences to show who I respect.
Yes, and personally, like, and that's another thing. It's like, I like Tarantino films. I would never ever want to make a Tarantino film. I would never want to try to make anything of any of the genres he tries to do, because
they're his.
And I like him not because of the genre. I like him because of the writing and the style and all of that. But normally you wouldn't catch me watching like a normal crime caper film or like a Western film or anything like that. You'd catch me watching the next Marvel film and whatever ensemble cast thing is playing on TV.
Yeah, I get you. So where do we? Okay, so they parked. They're complaining about how they don't have shotguns and just pistols, because there's 4 guys that had to go in there and get. Well, they knew only of 3, and then the 4th one had popped out of nowhere without them knowing. Yeah. So they got misinformation. And I like how they're talking about Marcellus Wallace's wife, Mia, right when they walk up and talking about how her, like, she was. Would you call her like that character the character Uma Thurman played a failed actress because her pilot never got off the ground?
Yeah,
because she never acted after that.
Yeah, I guess that's a kind of the most simplistic way you can put it. She's a failed actress, and it also shows, you know, kind of.
Which is ironic because Uma Thurman's not at all.
No, I mean, I haven't seen her do anything lately.
But she's not. Yeah, she's still in the business. But I think that's kind of funny. Ironically, like, you know, her character she plays a failed one when she's not.
Yeah, well, also shows, like, you know, how kind of dated the
the movies.
The perspective. Yeah, well, like when they talk about this, may be just for me only. I watch a lot of TV, but they talk about the pilot process, and I'm thinking, well, that's how they do it for some TV shows. But nowadays they're breaking out of that. Like nowadays, some shows just get ordered straight to series. They don't bother with the pilot process because they're like.
No, times change. Probably it's different.
Yeah,
Maybe
that's how Netflix does its business, and other networks. It worked very well with House of Cards, and
it makes sense for Netflix because the way I've heard people tell me, I don't own Netflix at all. I don't have an account, but people say that when a Netflix, just an original series, a Netflix alone series comes out, it doesn't come out like one episode a week. It comes out with a full season in bulk.
Yeah.
So that makes sense why they don't bother with a pilot. They we do it this way, so if it's good enough, boom.
And other cable networks have been trying to copy that model, and with some mixed successes. Like some actually worked,
some
don't. Because they realized, okay, the pilot process is unnecessary. People are going to watch this anyway, so we just skip that unnecessary step. So that conversation, maybe a few years from now, maybe a decade or so from now, when people watch that, like, that's how they used to make TV? And another thing you pointed out with her being a failed actress, because that was also the time when TV was considered below movies, where now it's kind of being treated as like equal.
Oh yeah, people are gearing towards more TV people. Okay,
she did like some TV show called Fox Force 5.
That sounds like this one movie I watched on.
Sounds like a Charlie's Angels.
Yeah. There was this one. It kind of reminded me of this one movie I watched with my dad when I was little. It was from Mystery Science Theater.
Oh my god!
I forget what they were, but it was another Charlie's Angels spoof. But I think it was like 7 or 8 girls, but one of the girls was the sister of one of the like main girls, and yet she was like 14, and all these girls were like close to 30. So it was so bad in camp. It was just for the beautiful women. But that's what I was thinking. Fox Force 5 is kind of fun. But I like how she goes into detail, which is Fox because we're a set of foxy ladies, Force because we're a force to be reckoned with, and 5 because there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of us. I'm like, no, that's what that means. But yeah,
it'd been called like trip. I wonder if the title was like Fox. If the 5 was written out that way. When they do the promos, the narrators would eventually just like say, I don't want to say Fox Force 5 every time I say on the next all-new episode of Fox Force 5 on NBC. They just call it FFF or Triple F.
That'd be if that fictional series did get off the ground and I'd say during their second season, that'd probably be called like Next on Triple Five. Like that'd be
or Triple F.
Sorry, Triple F. Sorry, Next on Triple F. Hey, that would make me want to buy the DVD. Come on, how cool does that sound? Triple F sounds like a good title. Triple F. It's better than Fox Force 5.
Yeah.
Oh god.
She talks about each of the people and like. Everyone is stereotyped. Like, it's obvious that the blonde one is the leader, but the Asian one, the Japanese one, the specifically mentioned was Japanese, but Asian one is martial arts, black one is
demolitions, the French one was sex, and her character was basically the odd wild card one, and so they gave her two.
Good at knives and... What was the other
joke.
thing?
She cracks it one joke.
Oh yeah.
She tells one joke every episode. A joke an episode.
She's like the nerd.
But I like how she gets two special like 2 things.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone gets one, but since she's the odd man out wild card, she gets 2.
She's the character that sits behind the computer. And
she's the Charlie of the group from like Sunny. It's always funny. Like she's like the Charlie.
From what?
From Always Sunny in Philadelphia. She's the odd one out, the wild card.
It's like
that. I think it's funny. But I like how they were talking about. They're just mentioning her, and then they talk about who's the guy that Marcel swallows through out the window? Was it what was the character?
Tony.
Was it Tommy or Tony Rakahara? Something like that. It was a
Tommy Rakahara.
Big Samoan dude, and they're talking about like they threw him out the window because he was massaging her feet. And I thought that was a cool line of dialogue because I've had those conversations with my friends of like what's crossing the line, what's not, what's considered cheating, what's not. And to me, I'm with Vincent. I think giving a grown woman who's married by your, it doesn't even matter if it's your boss, but just a married woman giving her a foot massage, that's a very intimate kind of moment. It's not like, like back in high school when if you're doing like a sport or activity involved with the opposite sex, like, if you're giving, let me give me a massage. Like, if it's between friends, that's different. But when it involves now, like, someone who's taken, even if it's a boyfriend, that's like a very small degree form of cheating, flirting with.
There's like tension there, even if the tension is trying to make sure you don't cross that line.
Yeah,
well, ultimately you might accidentally do somehow.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Because the feet are so sensitive, like ticklish, and then you're massaging it, so you're not tickling it, and you're getting in there, and you're like, what are you going to stare at her feet the whole time? No, you're going to stare at her. So it's like, if obviously she said that Tommy didn't do that. Mm-hmm. She says she doesn't know why, only them. But if he did...
And therefore, we don't know.
No, and if we did, though...
We'll never know.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, we'll never know. That's the beauty of that movie. Like, it leaves you guessing and talking and thinking, what did he actually do? He probably just didn't...
It kind of has this habit of, like, dropping you in and out of things.
I agree with Vincent. What do you think? Do you agree with Vincent that... I mean, it was excessive to throw him out a window, a 4-story window?
Yeah.
But do you agree with Vincent on saying, like, he got what he got? Like, it was excessive, but that's what happens when you mess with a taken man's woman.
I mean, I suppose you got a point there. I don't know.
What do you think?
I'm trying to think. Because of course, when I think of people getting massages, I think of like old people. Like my grandfather has like someone come in from time to give him, to massage.
Oh, move the muscles, get the oxygen circulating.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Well, how about with you and your girl? Like when the thought of, let's say, me, if you knew her and I hung out, but then you found out later I gave her a foot massage. Like, what would that thought? Like, I'm not gonna ever do that, but like the thought.
I'd probably ask, like, did she ask you to give you a foot
massage?
Yeah. That'd be my first question. I'd be like,
why did she ask you? And then the second
because either way, it is inherently. I would think either way, it's inherently weird that if you just all of a sudden decide, I'm gonna rub your feet.
Yeah, that's weird. I don't know where her feet's been. I don't know where most people's feet been. I mean, I know they've been in shoes, but for how long for that day? Mm-hmm. Socks can hold in all that funk. Yeah, I know, right? But you just don't. Especially when it comes to, then it adds on. It's your boss's wife, and it's your boss's wife, and your boss is a mobster, is like a leader of organized crime.
Just say he's Ving Rhames.
He's Ving Rhames. Well,
just leave it there.
That alone, yeah, it's Ving Rhames' wife. That dude would mess me up. I wouldn't want to get in a fight with him. But yeah, I like how they had that conversation, and it's again between two very close coworkers, just discussing the simple things of every day-to-day life. What's crossed in the line, and what's not. What's cheating. What's not. What's this. What's that. Discussing different cultures. It's like that. It's like. Yeah. It's what Tarantino. I like what he does in all his movies. It's a great version of just shooting the shit with someone you know, someone you can have a conversation with. Just shooting the shit.
Yeah, and on a technical side, that scene. What I like about that scene is the single takes, single shots. So there's a lot of
the one take,
yeah, a lot of one takes because they're moving throughout the hallways, but there's no like cuts. There's no like Samuel L. Jackson's perspective. Then there's cutting. There's no like his perspective cutting to his face. It's no like reverse shot kind of thing going on.
It's just one long take.
Yeah, it's just one long take walking through a hallway, and those are great because
those are always the best ones to watch.
So I love watching those scenes. It's one of the reasons why I love watching The West Wing. Back to Aaron Sorkin again. I'll try to deviate from that, but when you do something like that, even if you're just talking about nothing, because what they're really doing in that is essentially talking about nothing. Because they go to the door. They even go so far as they go to the door and they say, it's 7:22. It's not quite time yet. So they go off away to talk about things some more. But which that time, then you start to notice the one shot even more, because then you're like...
Oh, because they don't follow him down.
Because it's just a still angle from the side.
And they're so far away from the camera.
But when they're walking through the door, you don't notice it too much, and you really get into the conversation, because when they walk, it gives this illusion like the plot is moving forward. I think they made a joke about that in a House episode one time, where he's just like to one of his doctors, walk with me. Gives the impression that the plot is moving along.
Oh, yeah? Okay.
And,
yeah.
But it does. I'll give you one example. I was thinking about this recently. I've been watching this show on Sci-Fi called The Expanse. And they're trying to do like a Game of Thrones in space kind of thing. And I've noticed that there's like 2 stories. There's like 3 like major stories in different parts of the solar system going on at once. There's 2 stories that I actually really like because there's stuff happening. But then there's this one story that I'm really starting to get sick and tired of, that I'm just like waiting for something to happen involving this UN, this woman that works at the futuristic UN. But there's one conversation that she had. I don't remember what they were talking about, but it summarized exactly what I'm talking about here, where they were just sitting down in this massive set. It looks so great. The background and the set design looks so great, but they're just sitting down in a shot, reverse shot. Yeah. I'm thinking, this is just like the fucking Star Wars prequels. The Star Wars prequels, every time they have a conversation, it's like George Lucas just wanted to get it over with, because it's shot, reverse shot, we're sitting on a couch, we gotta talk this out, and I'm thinking, couldn't you, like, walk? Come on, guys, stand up. You walk and talk. You don't even have to walk and talk. You can just go to her office, have her do some things on her computer, or pull some files out to put in the shredder. I don't know. Give them something to do, but don't make me sit there on my couch watching just a shot, reverse shot of a conversation that's boring, that's deviating from the more exciting stuff happening. I might have gone way off on this, but yeah. I guess I'm really explaining why I love those, like,
the long shot that Tarantino uses.
The one shots that Tarantino uses for Pulp Fiction, and other one shots that happen. Even the ones that are still, those are still pretty captivating, because the angle is like just right, and the material. It draws
you in,
and it feels
human. It's not just the writing. It's yeah, you're right. It's that human feel, like what draws us in. It's like we're not watching a movie. We're just listening in on someone's conversation.
Because the thing I was watching on Tuesday night, it was purely just exposition. And the things in the Star Wars prequels, it's like, okay, most of this is just exposition.
Yeah.
It's a thing that has to link us to the next scene. But a lot of this stuff,
Pulp Fiction,
sprinkled in there, but there's more stuff added to it where you just feel like you're watching...
Would you say this is more of like a character-driven movie?
Yes.
Because they're talking about... Yeah,
very good. He's very good with that.
Mm-hmm. And that's... Yeah, I like that. And then... Like what you said, like, oh, we were a little early now, let's walk over to the side, talk more, bring it back. And it brings back to the conversation, the difference between eating out and foot massage.
A conventional screenwriter would have not done that at all. In fact, a conventional screenwriter would have just had them pull up, get out of the car, and then cut to them going to the door, and then coming in, and then intimidating those poor guys. But no, he actually went through the trouble of writing what they were going to say, walking to the door, walking inside, up the stairs,
elevator.
Oh, the elevator. Oh, yeah, the elevator too. And through the hallway, and then they go up to the door, and then just to shove it in her face of how abnormal this screenwriting is. He's like, nope, you know what? It's not time yet. Let's walk over.
I want to pull him away for a second, then bring him in. Yeah, I like how he says. I like with his character.
And then just to wink to the audience even more right before they go to the door. He says, come on.
He's getting the character. Yeah, that's what I love. Like, I love how most, like, in these characters, there's all the characters he writes in all his movies, especially like Pulp Fiction. They'll reference stuff what actors do. We gotta get into character, and then these people these characters were just regular people. These guys are just working for a mobster. He's like, we gotta get into character now. Like, they're ready to do their part. They're play their scene, because they're playing their scene when they walk in, completely own the room. And I love how Samuel Jackson does all the talking, and John Travolta's just chilling. John Travolta's the silent guy you don't want to talk, and he's just talking. He's controlling it. He's controlling the situation so much that when a different guy answers the question, because he asks that one guy on the couch, he asks him, "Where's the suitcase?" And then Marv in the back answers him. To let him know how much he's in control, he's like, I don't remember asking you a goddamn thing. I wasn't talking to you. I'm talking to him. When I'm talking to you, that's when you talk. Yeah. That's how much in control Samuel Jackson was the whole thing. When he came in, and even when he was eating Brett's breakfast.
Every time I have a burger nowadays, thanks to that scene, I always think to myself, does this taste as good
as a Big Kahuna burger?
As that Big Kahuna burger that Samuel Jackson
That exact
ate.
Same one, the exact one from Pulp Fiction,
yeah, that's what I always think. I always have to... That's what I think every time I eat a burger now. Is I'm thinking, am I gonna act like Samuel Jackson and say, this is a tasty burger?
I like how when you brought up, though, when we were watching the movie, Travis brought up that he was wondering with Samuel Jackson delivering the character itself, when character was speaking, that if the character actually liked that burger or was just still fucking around with the guys.
Mm-hmm.
And I said I think yes, because when you're messing with someone's head, you got to have a little bit of your own truth and opinions in there. I believe. So I actually think he was surprised by that burger. Like, he went to go eat the burger just to show him, I can do whatever I want here. I'm in that much power. So I'm just going to eat your burger. I'm going to eat your breakfast. Oh, damn, this is actually... okay. Because when he went to go take the Sprite, he already knows Sprite's good. Sprite's good. And he's like, and then, because he kept staring at him while he's drinking the Sprite, that showed...
He didn't blink at all.
That showed the purpose that he was eating and drinking his food. He had the intention at the beginning to eat and drink his breakfast, Brett's breakfast, because he just wanted to mess with their minds, but to show them how much he can control. But he surprisingly got a good, tasty bite out of a burger. So I think that, like, when you brought that up, that's what I was saying. Like, I think he actually liked that burger, but because that's why Tarantino showed us staring at Brett the whole time while he downed the rest of them. Was that he really was just wanting to mess with him, but he got a tasty treat in the end. And then what? Okay, so after that, they got the briefcase, and there's all of these.
You already know the Ezekiel 25:17 monologue.
It's so good. Yeah, it's like it's historical in cinema.
Yeah.
It's a historical monologue in all of cinema. No one else can duplicate the powerful impact of the way Samuel Jackson delivered it.
Actually, let's talk about that for a second.
Okay, let's talk about it.
Because since I'm in college, last fall semester, I was in a theater acting class, and of course, I did drama in high school, but my major is film. So this is like an elective. This is an elective course I was taking, and most of these and of course, some of us, may have done acting, but we're doing other majors. But then there were others of us that didn't do acting, but we had an assignment in which we had to do a monologue from a movie or TV show. And there was at least one that did the Ezekiel 25:17 monologue.
Yeah.
And it just wasn't the same. Like, I can watch other people do monologues from other scenes that I've watched, and I'm thinking, okay, that's good. Even a scene, even in a later assignment, when two guys when it was like a scene with two people, and I saw two guys do the scene from the interrogation scene for The Dark Knight, I was like, okay, that's pretty good. But the Samuel L. Jackson Ezekiel 25:17 monologue, every time I watch someone try to do that, I'm like, no, don't do that. No, it's not the same. And maybe it's because I don't know if they're worried they don't want to imitate Samuel L. Jackson's voice because they're not black. If it's like
or
that,
they don't have that deep of a strong masculine voice.
Yeah, that too. It's just
he owned it. He owned it.
That's his monologue. No one can ever duplicate that.
And I get what you mean though, because I saw that same scene of the Dark Knight interrogation scene, but done with one guy in my acting class, and he just did the Joker part, and he began sitting there smiling and moving his fingers, and then he just smashed his head on the desk, and then just went for it, and we were like blown away, like, whoa, what are you? No, you're doing it, and he did it.
He's talking to himself. He's literally pretending Batman's kicking him around.
Yeah, and he's just doing Heath Ledger's part of the Joker, saying all the lines while talking to an imaginary Batman. Christian Bale walking around him, throwing him around, and to us, we're like, that was amazing. That was phenomenal. But you might want to do another one because you need another person for the scene, unfortunately. But he did it, and you're right. Some scenes in legendary movies you can do as like you said in your acting class as like a scene for the class, but a good number of them are hard to do because it was once it's just been done in that movie once. It's known because of that movie, and that actor or actress just owned it. Like. I remember when Travis and I were in drama in high school, he did the Jack Nicholson scene with Tom Cruise at the very end of A Few Good Men.
You can't.
But here's the thing, though. You can do that, but you do need the other person because the point is Tom Cruise's character's reaction. But it was a play first, then a movie.
Yeah.
So those things can be done, but sometimes you just need the other person. But other than that, you did execute it well. We were just like, yeah, a little bit of it's Jack Nicholson, but you just need another person. It would probably work better. If you had your Tom Cruise, that's what it is.
I ended up doing something else. I forget what.
But it was still, it was still Ezekiel.
Maybe it was that scene with. No, it was that scene with Abby that I did. We're off topic.
Yeah, but okay. So back to it. So after they get the briefcase, and after the Ezekiel 5:20, what was it? The Ezekiel
25:17
monologue. They kill Brett, and then they cut to.
They cut to Bruce Willis looking miserable.
At the strip club. It was a strip club.
Yeah.
And it was Butch and Marcel Wallace. And I love how that scene's set because all you're doing is just listening to Marcel Wallace talk to Butch, but you just get Butch's reactions and expressions of having to sit there and listen and take it.
Part of me is wondering, is there a person on the other side of the camera that's talking?
Yeah, when I first saw that, I was like, what's going on? Yeah, when I first saw the movie, I was like, what's going on? I'm like, oh, he's talking to someone. Mm-hmm. It's like, okay. Like, that was awesome. And I love the song that's going on. Let me be though. This is a great, like, just slow dance couple song. And then they have it playing there, and it was it's just great in the dialogue, and he's talking to him about basically they're fixing the fight.
Yeah.
Obviously, Butch is going to make money off it, but he has to go down in the fifth. Mm-hmm. But what I liked is after, we were watching it over and over again, but you kind of get, when I first time watching it, kind of got it towards the end a little bit. You can already see in his head, he already has another plan going against this plan. He's already gonna screw over Marcellus Wallace, but he's gonna make so much money off it because when Marcellus Wallace paid him, and then he has people betting on him to win, and everyone's already betting against him because mm-hmm. and he's gonna get all this money, and it's like he got money on both sides by just pretending to like, oh yeah, I'll drop in the fifth. He ends up killing the dude.
How stupid of Marcellus Wallace to give him the money
now? Yeah,
right
you always give half now, half later.
Yeah,
that's what you always do.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't. So you pay a person half, so that gets them that lets them know that you're serious and wanting them to do this job and how you will pony up on the end, but you got to still do your job to get the rest. Mm-hmm. So you always pay half. That's a good example of you always pay half now, half later. Yeah. Especially in organized crime. And then, so after that scene, we move on to, was it the Christopher Walken watch monologue? Was that it after that?
No. Actually, no. This is the... No, because we go into
the date. Sorry, that's right. Because Vincent and Jules come back in because it's not chronologically in place. All mm-hmm. the scenes. I'd say there's the date, and I like how the bartender messed with him. Is like, so I hear you taking her on Mia Wallace on a date, and then Vincent's looking at Jules like, really, man? What?
Yeah, because in the earlier scene, he's already saying you're taking him to date, and right before they go through the door, he says,
you're taking care of her. Yeah, Marcellus Wallace wants me to take care of her. Like. Take care. Puts his hand.
Yeah, he has a finger to his head.
And he's like, no. Like, out on a date. What? He's like, okay, it's not a date. And then there's a pause, and you can feel it. It's not a date. I like how the whole time his whole thing is like, guys, it's not a date. I'm just helping out my friend who's my boss.
It's also funny because you think they're about to go in the door, but then he says it's not a date.
Which breaks that tension. It even drags that longer, which you're explaining earlier. That whole walking, the long shot. Yeah, mm-hmm. And so he goes to his heroin buyer. Buys heroin.
That's right. Yeah.
Shoots up, and then he's already. I think when he gets to the Wallace's house to pick up Mia, I think he's just getting he's midway through the high because he's still high, but I think he hit that already the big part, and he's just midway because he's obviously able to operate and drive a vehicle while on heroin. Mm-hmm. And I like how when she's talking to him through the intercom, she's having a little phone like she's like a cat playing with a ball of yarn or a mouse. She's playing with him a little bit. Yeah. And I like how he looks for the intercom. He's like, "Hello." You have to push the button to say hi. Hello? I'll be down in 2 shakes of lamb tail. You can make yourself a drink.
Okay.
And okay. And he's still a little high. And then she comes down. They go out to the...
Jack Rabbit Slim.
Jack Rabbit Slim?
Yeah. I think that's what it's called.
And I like how the only bit of animation of that movie was when she made the dotted square. That was their animation.
It wasn't even a square. It was a rectangle.
It was a rectangle? I thought that was
don't be and then mouths the word square.
And then little dots, and then it just disappears. And I like how they're talking they got that 50s feel vibe and lingo, that, mm-hmm. and how they're she's doing it to have a little fun with him, but he's kind of keeping up with her mentally. Mm-hmm. And I like when they enter the restaurant, how Nixon, the guy dressed up as Nixon, is the host. He's the guy who sits you and everything. I thought that was funny. That guy was
dick himself.
Yeah, I know. He's just sitting there hunched over, the hand crossed, and you're talking, and then you pass by, and what you said was just
another long take. Almost
people dressed up as famous, iconic characters and actors. You had someone dressed up as Marilyn Monroe, Buddy Holly. You had Zorro. Dressed up, but you also had James Dean, and then the Rat Pack. Mm-hmm. So I like how it was a mixture of famous, iconic characters with famous, iconic people. Mm-hmm. So that was cool to see. And then Steve Buscemi's Buddy Holly, which I didn't even notice until this time.
This is like your 10th or so time watching this movie, and you just realized I watched this less times than you, and I already knew the first time I watched. It's like, oh, that's Steve Buscemi from Reservoir Dogs. Oh.
And I'm like, holy crap, that's Steve Buscemi, and I had to rewind. I'm like, that's Steve Buscemi
with these like.
God, he plays a mean waiter. Like he's just not a mean waiter, but not like
he looks like he hates his job. Yeah. And it's like, would you like it burnt to a crisp or bloody as hell?
And I like how that and. Since you just said it, sorry, I'm kind of going off now a little topic, but still, I like how when that happened, to me, because I go to a certain place to get burritos and a quesadilla sometime, there's a certain way of ordering that's not the norm. So, like, when you go into any other fast food joint, there's like, you place your order and that's it, or a restaurant, but there's certain few restaurants.
It's like trademark lingo.
But there's a certain way you gotta talk while there's a certain way of going about it. It's not, you're not going to get like a certain like, hi, how are you? But like, hey, what's up? What do you want? All right, cool. Like, and you gotta accept. You gotta know what to expect. So I like that when he was saying bloody as hell, burnt to a crisp. There's a certain way of talking at that restaurant, ordering and behaving. Like there's a certain way. I like that's what reminded me. I'm like, oh, that's what I picked up. I'm like, oh, that's such a cool little detail. Like to show that there's a certain way of acting there.
Yeah, and then you notice the subtle racism when
the shakes. Yeah, I was asking.
Marvin, it was like. Do you want a Marvin Lewis or Amos and Andy? And I educated you.
What that meant. Yeah,
it was a racist radio show about two black people voiced by two white guys.
Gosh, I like the whole $5 shake conversation. That was good.
Is that bourbon?
Yeah, is there bourbon in there? Like, why is it $5? Like, no, it's just $5 shake. Like, why the hell are you dropping $5? I always thought that, and I had a $5 shake, and then I realized, oh. This is why it costs $5.
I don't think I've ever had a $5 shake before.
If you ever get one, wherever you go and they serve one, just try it.
Okay.
If it's bad, I will give you $5. I will give you $5 if it's bad. But it is they're good shakes. They're really good. And then once again in that whole dinner scene, the restaurant scene, they're kind of still shooting the shit. There's no real plot driven anything. It's just a weird, awkward date, not date.
Date not date.
And she's flirting with him with her eyes and the way she's talking with him. She's like having fun with him. She thinks he's cute, and he's still a little high, so he's like, I'm here and I don't want to be here. And he's like, and then he's forced to dance, which is great, and they win, and then
all the audience is reminded of Grease.
Yeah, like I said, like, was that a Grease thing?
Like, did they just write? Did he know John Travolta was going to be in this movie, so he just wrote that for him?
A little Grease, yeah. And then she ODs when he drops her off because she's rummaging through her jacket. First of all, if you're not on a date and she already has a jacket, why are you giving a girl your jacket when she's not even, like, there's a lot of...
She probably wanted the jacket,
oh, yeah,
I imagine.
And, like, he was getting himself into a little bit of a compromising position there, and he had to even go to the restroom and talk about, like, you're not on a date. You're going to have the drink she offered, be polite, but drink it fast, go home, jerk off. You're not going to cross the line. This is where loyalty comes in. It's like, this shouldn't be even a question you have with yourself. So you want to have sex with her a little.
Maybe he's still coming off the high.
Probably. Because maybe. But he woke up, too, right after when he found her. He woke up from that high when he saw her all.
Well, and then you explained to me, because, like, at first, when she just OD'd, I thought it was, like, the cocaine that she had on her, that she was just snorting up in the bathroom, and then that instant she just did too much. But then you pointed out to me, it's like, that was the heroin he got her earlier, and they already mentioned... that, like, you know, that's some really strong stuff. You'll know where the extra money is. And that's meant to be, like, shot. Injected in the arm. But she snorted that shit off.
And she just went, but they showed her, but with the powder room reference, like, I gotta go powder my nose. It was obviously she's gonna do cocaine, but to show that this character does cocaine. So it makes sense for her just to grab a random bag full of white powder and be like, cocaine, not heroin. And she's OD'd, and she has to go. I like how he has to go back to his dealer to, like, help him out. And he's like, and he's like, wait, are you on a cellular device? I don't know you. Prank caller.
Looks outside the window.
Crashes into his house. I like how he plops her on the front lawn for a little bit to talk to him, and they pick her back up, drag her in. And the drug dealer's wife was awesome because she loves her husband. But she's like, are you an idiot? Are you getting up? What are you doing? She's like,
loves her husband for some reason.
I know. I love those characters that where they love, or the girl loves her man no matter what. But there's like, but it's like, I love you. Like, I love you with all my heart and, like, my soul. But right now you're a fucking idiot. And I fucking hate you right now. I love that, like...
I hate your profession. Get a real job.
The underlining meaning of all those lines. And so they have to get the EpiPen scene, like, and that's such a famous scene. like, I'm not going to do it. You're going to do it. Why do I got to do it? Look, the next time I ever bring an OD'd woman to your house, I will do it for you. But I'm not giving her the adrenaline. And just that needle was long. Oh, I know it was long.
Really long needle.
To get through the breastplate. That's why it had to be so long. But it's like, and she had to pull that out. Like, just
she must have been wearing, like, fake prosthetic breasts on her.
Oh, no, but to real life, though, if that was, like, because of how long the needle is, and pulling that out, like, they didn't show it, but they showed her going to grab it before they cut to the awkward silence car ride. I like how she says when there's a silence between two people, that means you found someone special. I'm like, each silence you guys had was awkward except the middle one where you could have kissed him. Like, they could have kissed in that second awkward silence moment. But the third one, that's an awkward silence moment where you're like, I just did drugs and I almost OD'd. Crap, you're my boss's wife and you almost OD'd on me and you're still bloody on your nose and I'm sweating like a pig and I'm about to have a heart attack. I'm going to strop you off and go home and cry.
A conventional screenwriter would probably had them kiss, but Tarantino intentionally leaves that hanging, knowing that you know what, this is just going to complicate things. And
it's good,
more.
But it's good to leave some tension with the characters. Because if it's always character driven, you got to keep the tension there. The connection. That's their connection. Is the tension.
Tension that'll never get resolved because of our next story.
Oh, because he gets shot by Butch. Yeah, so we'll never know the end of that. Yeah, he gets shot. Here's the thing: if you're going to a guy's house and he owes your boss money, and he obviously killed a boxer. I mean, yes, boxing's a deadly sport because you're fighting, but he killed the dude. Why you leave your semi-automatic your semi-automatic, automatic? Yeah, that's a big ass. That's like Walking Dead. That's a Walking Dead silencer because Walking Dead, those silencers are big.
They have humongous silencers.
Yeah, that's a big ass silencer that turns
bigger than
a one-handed automatic into a two-handed.
Why do you not bring it to the bathroom?
Yeah, why'd you leave it right there? And then why are you taking a dump with the door closed when you're waiting for the dude to come back? I would have the door open, pistol in one hand while I'm taking a dump. But no, and why is when Butch got the watch? It's like, dude, leave. Why are you making breakfast?
He just stops and makes Pop-Tarts. You know why? Because Tarantino wanted to have that scene.
That same, yeah.
I watched something, and this was specifically pertaining. This was a review of The Hateful Eight, but of course it was talking about Tarantino in general. It's like Tarantino. There are certain moments where in the writing you feel like, okay, maybe logically, like take Django for example. The last scene of Django logically did not need to happen. He didn't have to go back to that home and murder Calvin Candy's family. The very last scene.
Those group of hillbillies? Yeah, I know what you mean. Oh, in the house. No, in Calvin Candy's house?
Calvin Candy's whatever.
Kill his sister.
And Samuel Jackson,
because he got his wife Butler. Right then and there beforehand. He could have just left.
Yeah, he could have just left. But, so logically, that wouldn't have made sense for him to go back, but in terms of a movie, and this is another thing, Quentin Tarantino also thinks like a director. He's like, we need to have that payoff. We need to have him go back. Because
it's a revenge tale. That's why
it's a revenge tale.
But I get what you mean. Like, the logical thing is to do this, but when it comes to revenge for that movie, there's never really logic. You just gotta not die.
Yeah, so it's like he's a very good writer.
And that's why Butch did the illogical thing. He had breakfast.
Yeah,
cinnamon flavored toast. Anything is good. I love any toast, Pop-Tart, whatever thing that's cinnamon. Brown sugar cinnamon. This is good.
He's a really good. Like he's one of the most egotistic. Well, maybe not the most egotistic people you've ever met.
I wouldn't say that,
because that guy is running for president right now. But he has a big ego. He's kind of an asshole. If you ever seen him in public appearances, you kind of have to walk the line with him. But his talent backs it up. He's very talented with his work.
And adding to that, I remember a couple interviews in the past that gave off that, like what you're saying, big ego and ass, but recently now he seems very calmed down and more just giddier and happy and just still eccentric. So I think I think that's changed.
Kind of saw that at the Golden Globes.
Yeah, it's changed. Like I said on this on Stephen Colbert's new late night show, with that he was more just giddy and jolly and just eccentric, which is
It's because he was on CBS. He just said you can't.
Because of that, wow.
He's probably thinking like, you can't curse on CBS.
No.
So
what was...
But anyway, what I was saying is that he's a very good writer, but he also thinks like a director. Like the directing comes first with his. I mean, he'll write every single thing he does, but the directing comes first, and he'll think like a director. He'll think, he doesn't think, how will this work logically? He thinks, how does this work as a movie, as an entertaining movie? Because there are sometimes in screenwriting, we nitpick things. We nitpick at things that's like, well, that logically doesn't really make any sense. Why did the character decide to make that decision? That kind of thing. But then here's another thing that a lot of these people, and sometimes they may have merit. Sometimes it just doesn't make sense, and it's a glaring problem with the film. But sometimes with some movies, you also have to ask yourself, does this work for the plot? Let me rephrase that. Does this work for the actual movie?
Yeah.
The experience of watching the movie. Does it work for the movie?
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I don't know why no one's ever nitpicked this. I'm surprised CinemaSins missed this with the first Star Wars movie. Why didn't Princess Leia's ship just jump into hyperspace?
Before the tractor beam got them?
Before they got their engines shot.
Hold on. Maybe that's why they're about to, but when that explosion happened, that could have been the hyperdrive.
Well, why didn't they do it
before?
sooner?
Yeah, I know, right?
That's what I'd be like. Why didn't they do it sooner?
Going back, no, okay.
It's stupid stuff like that. That's like, it's like, if that didn't happen, we wouldn't have had Star Wars. Okay, it happened, and it works for the movie.
Oh, that's part of it. There's always that movie thing, like, it's the movie, it's not real life, it's different. Mm-hmm. And so back to Pulp Fiction. The next scene, which was like a stroke of bad luck, and at the entrance of good luck, is when Butch is driving down the street. He got the watch. Vincent Vega's dead. Runs into Marcellus Wallace carrying donuts and coffee and runs into him. And then they crash the car. I like that. I like that. Oh, and then when he comes back wakes up from getting hit, he's like, I'll be damned. He pulls out the pistol and everyone runs away.
She's got a bunch of ladies surrounding him saying, hey, do you need a lawyer? I know a good lawyer because that guy was just crazy drunk. And then he pulls out the gun and we're like, whoa!
And then he shoots that one chick and they're just chasing each other and they're all discombobulated still.
It's like the anticlimactic chase scene because they're all like,
and they go into a pawn shop and then
run by a bunch of inbred hicks.
Yeah, who are basically just rapists. I like how that turned. Like, he's punching, like, Bruce Willis is punching the dude and everything. He's like, you feel that, man? That's pride fucking with you. And everything. And then he's like, put down the gun. He's like, this isn't concerning, man. Well, it's my business now. And he's like, and he knocks Bruce Willis out with a shotgun. And then they wake up. They're ball gagged, a little stripped down and on chairs in the basement.
This is going to turn into a horror movie.
Yeah. Jeez. And then I'm like, and watch this. I'm like, I know this scene. This scene's always just like crazy and awesome to watch. But the first time watching, I was like, what's going on? And then Zed comes in and he's like, bring out the gimp. I'm like,
what?
I'm like, gimp. I know what a gimp. I know what a gimp is. Why is it? Oh! And then it just goes down and then I liked how the character Zed looked kind of like Buffalo Bill from Silence of the Lambs, with the earring and like the hair, but thinner and leaner. And I liked that. They gave it that more feeling of like, this is gonna get sexually messed up right now. People are gonna get messed up, and then he goes eeny meeny miny mo. It's actually, but he doesn't say tiger. He says the N word.
He says the N word.
That's what's like what? And then he like.
Okay, first of all, if we're gonna
quote the line. Okay, he says eeny meeny miny mo, catch a nigger, not tiger. That shows that this scene's already going so far left field, and then he picks Marcellus Wallace, and he's like, and the camera just goes to the left, pans left. He's like, what? And then they drag him in. Him and the
it's the camera that told us who he was picking, not the camera on him showing where
the
he's
finger,
pointing.
not his finger. It's the camera. It's like who won the lottery for this one. And then what was funny is that when Zed and the pawn shop owner take Marcellus into the back room to get, and then he's there. Bruce Willis is there left with a gimp, and it's like. And he gets out of there, and the gimp's coming up to him. He's like, you? Me? And he's giggling, and then he knocks him out after he breaks free, and he goes to leave. And I like when he stops, he's like, now my conscience is getting in the way. Now I gotta help this dude. This dude wants to kill me. This guy wants to kill me. He's like, all right, I'll help him. And then he goes for the hammer. He's like, hammer, which that was a big ass looking brand new hammer.
Very shiny hammer.
Yeah, and he's like, no, not a hammer. And then the next thing he picked up was the baseball bat.
The baseball bat.
And he's like, no, not the baseball bat. Chainsaw. Yeah, chainsaw. And he's like, and then he looks up. I found it. Samurai sword. Goes in there with the katana. Cuts the pawn shop owner up, and when you open the door, you hear what's going on. You get what's going on.
Yeah.
So I like how at the beginning, the most of the part, you're like left to the imagination, draw your own conclusion. Then you open up, no, you're shown the rape. You're shown it.
Yeah, poor Marcellus. So Marcellus Wallace is like this feared figure, and then
he's bent over, just getting slammed.
I mean, it's actually isn't it like when they first when he first sees Marcellus Wallace at the crosswalk? That's the first time we actually see his face in the movie. Like,
yes,
clearly.
I believe so.
So, like, he's this faceless figure. We've only seen the back of his head with the Band-Aid on it, and
he's saying all these things like he's in control when he's in control of the situation. He's a force to be reckoned with. And even when his like, I'd say his second in command was like, hey, what are you willing to do? Like, I'm willing to scouge the earth for this motherfucker. If this guy pops up in Indochina, I want a nigger in a rice bowl ready to pop a cap in his ass. Like, he's ready to do anything. So he is a force to be reckoned with, and then you see his face for the first time right before he gets hit by the car.
And it's like, okay, now he's brought down. His power is stripped.
Yeah,
it's just him.
That's more than his power getting stripped. It's like a lot of stuff's getting taken out. Yeah, and then he cuts the pawn shop owner, Butch.
Back to the...
Yeah. And he's got the sword on Zed. And what was funny is when they show the shot of Zed's gun with his keys, with his gun, I saw... It looked like a bottle cap necklace. I thought that was just kind of funny. We were like,
I missed that.
Why is there a bottle cap opener necklace on? Like, what? It's like a full-on big bottle cap opener, and he's got the knife. And then, like how Marcellus Wallace has got the shotgun, it goes like that slow motion, and it blows his nuts off.
It's always funny when you see the slow motion shots. Tarantino loves doing these kind of slow motion.
He's great at.
It's like, well, of course, he shoots on actual film, and well, granted, I guess it wouldn't make the difference if you're shooting just 24 frames setting on a digital camera, although he hates digital.
I don't think 94 he was using digital, though, right?
Digital cameras weren't a thing back then. Everyone was still, like, they were just, like, for home video and for, like, news stuff, but they weren't being used for cinema until, like, mid-2000s.
So,
it wasn't until... they were used for, like, little things in the early 2000s, but then Attack of the Clones came out, and that was the very first film.
Was Attack of the Clones 2002? So they were using digital for at least the third Lord of the Rings.
That was the very first movie to use all digital. That was, like, the first movie first major feature film to completely ditch film altogether. Okay. And you can tell, if you watch Phantom Menace and then you watch Attack of the Clones, you can tell.
You see the difference?
You can see the difference. The image is more sterile.
Okay.
And doesn't have, like, that grainy richness to it.
Yeah, I get what you mean.
You can pull that off. Nowadays, thanks to, like, the advancements they're making at Auraflex with the Arri Alexa and the Red cameras that they're coming out with that David Fincher likes to use, now you can get kind of a film look to it. You can have that richness, but also have a distinct look of its own. You can actually make it look like cinema and not just, like, a standard issue TV show. Don't tell that to Tarantino. He says he's a diehard film.
I think film's great because when I did photography a little bit, I had my classroom had a black room, and that was the last year we used film and process and everything. And I understand there's more of an intimate feel with it. It's different. That's why films. The original stuff's always better. I mean, nothing wrong with digital. I get why digital's used. But film just has that better feel.
Digital, there's a pro and con. Like, digital...
you get more room. Storage room. You get more storage room.
You get more storage room because you don't have to deal with an actual physical...
thing that you have to protect and seal.
You have to protect and seal, and plus film is expensive. Especially nowadays, film is very expensive. It's amazing... It's amazing that Hateful Eight was not as expensive as Ridiculous 6, considering he was shooting on 70mm.
But it was so worth it. That's another film for another day.
For another day.
Yeah. Let's see. So
anyway,
after that scene,
I was about to say for the slow motion.
Yeah, for the slow motion with the shotgun.
He likes, because typically when you shoot a slow motion scene, you shoot it. Generally, when you watch films, they're projected at 24 frames per second. Okay. There's so 24 pictures. You're really just watching 24 pictures pass by in a single second. But when you shoot a slow motion scene, you generally want to do it around 40 or 60. So it means it's going faster and you're using more film. But that way, it's more
the more detailed.
It's more fluid. Tarantino doesn't like doing that. He likes to just shoot those in 24, and then you watch the slow motion scenes, and they look kind of jerky. But there's kind of an old school, like, low budget feel to that. That's what he's going for.
For that scene, it really worked because of how messed up the whole situation was.
How messed up and how very down to earth the entire movie is.
Oh yeah.
It's not like Django, in which they just use like 4 gallons of blood, fake blood.
Yeah, I get what you mean. Well, because I get what you mean. The budget and make it real.
Yeah, visually it's like one of those more realistic films, I would say.
Mm-hmm. And then I like how Marcellus Wallace was like, Butch was like, "Are we good?" It's like, "I'm far from good. I'm about to go medieval on this motherfucker." It's like, no, I meant you and me. Oh, you and me? There is no you and me. Like, we're good now. Like, yeah, I was supposed to kill. I was gonna come and kill you because you screwed me over. But you saved me from getting raped and my life. All right, you're good. But get the hell out of this town. I don't want to see you again. You lost all your LA privileges.
Yeah. In a normal movie, that scene would have probably would have been like a third as long as that scene was. That scene is like intentionally very paced. There's pauses.
Oh yeah, it's dragged out, not in the way where it's like, oh, it got dragged out. It's like, no, you got to stretch it out and really feel the scene.
Like there's tension. There's still tension there.
But also, because let's put it in the real world. You got raped.
Yeah.
And you're a crime boss. And a security officer just went to town on you. Mm-hmm. You gotta. I could see the character holding back a little tears, like a little bit, like because that's a shocking, traumatic thing he's gonna live through the rest of his life.
Yeah.
Obviously, the only people who know is Butch and him. He can this stays between us.
Yeah.
But he's gotta live with that, and that's the scarring moment because the tears come up, but he's still holding it together, and he still hates Butch a little bit, but he's like, "Damn it, you saved me." So you basically get a pass. I do not want to see you in LA again. You lost all the privileges. Go. And then
you lost your LA privileges.
All of them. You lost all your LA privileges. And then after Butch leaves, takes Zed's car. It's a chopper. Not a motorcycle. It's a chopper, as he told his girlfriend. It's a chopper. I like how she's freaking out, and he's like, "We gotta go." And Zed's dead, baby. Zed's dead.
Way before that, he's like, "Come on, we need to go now." And she's like,
"It's like, what about our stuff? Forget our stuff. We gotta go."
She starts crying, and then it's like, "Okay, all right. I am sorry.
I'm sorry. Get on the car. Get on the chopper. Get on the chopper. We gotta go."
It's kind of like dealing with a kid, you know.
She was a little. I think her character was younger than his character, probably.
Yeah.
So she was a little more emotional and a little younger.
She was a little.
Watching this, she was a little off too as a person. Like she was. I mean, I liked her character, but like her character was a little off. You know what I mean? Like the character was a little like, I want a pot belly. Wait, do you want to get fat or do you want to get pregnant? Which one is it? Because to me, that sounds like you want to get pregnant. Like,
see, yeah, that's a signal I get from that.
Yeah, that's what I saw. Like, we said pot belly. I'm like, you want to get pregnant. All right. So weird. That's an interesting way of saying just knock me up.
You want to punch my belly?
Yeah, I was like, yeah, you don't want to punch a pregnant woman's belly, man. No. And then...
I just part of me hopes that relationship doesn't turn abusive because
of how
watching it again, I started to see the signs where he's like,
his character's a little off the handle. Yeah, Butch is a bit off the handle. Yeah, he definitely.
As long as he doesn't lose his watch.
No.
As long as he goes to great lengths.
He can flip. He can flip. He's not. Mm-hmm. He's definitely not in control. I mean, I know the watch is meaningful, but he definitely flipped.
Yeah.
And then to wraps up the whole movie is they cut back to after they killed Brett, Jules, and Vincent.
Yeah.
And then I told you this. I thought the dude in the bathroom with the hand cannon. I'm like, he looked like a Jerry Seinfeld stand-in.
Thanks to you, I'm gonna call him Discount Jerry Seinfeld.
Yeah, that's what the guy with the hand cannon looked like, a discount Jerry Seinfeld. And he comes in and just like, and they completely miss him. And so those bullets literally went through Jules because when Jules turns back, the 3 bullets, like, there's one bullet in between.
Vincent,
there's 2 bullets in between their heads on the wall, and then one on the left side of Jules on his other side.
There's like 3 more
which cover his chest, which would have been his chest and abdominal and stomach.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, wow, those bullets literally went. Where did they got it? Like they took they're like a magic bullet thing, and then went in. And I like how when he hit to Sean, they looked and were like, "Oh, we're not dead." You son of a bitch! You shot at us.
Well, it's almost like they kind of looked at him like
what?
As not even like they were surprised. It was just like, it's like, you fail. You fail. You get
fail.
this thinking, like they're looking at him like he's like some amateur, and then they point their guns like they're...
You suck! And then like the whole it's divine. Jules saying it's the act of God, divine intervention. And Vincent's like, it's just a freak of nature. Let's get the hell out of here. Let's get the hell out of here. And they take Marv with them, and then they're still talking about it in the car. And Vincent's like, I don't care right now. I like how Vincent doesn't give a he's just like,
he doesn't give a damn.
I'm just here to do my job. I have principles. I have rules that should not be crossed, and when people cross them, I get pissed off and flip out. And then he accidentally shoots Marv in the face. And he's like, and I like how he's so calm. He's like, oh damn it, I shot Marv in the. I was like, all calm. Oh damn it, I shot Marv in the face.
What?
And like, what the do that? Oh man, I've seen some pretty messed up shit in my life, but this takes the cake. Like I want to call. And then Jimmy, I love that Tarantino was Jimmy, but the whole part about dead nigger storage, it makes me cry of tears and joy because it's just he's saying it so matter of fact. Like, but let me ask you a question. When you were driving up in my driveway, did you see a sign on the side of my on the side of my door that said "dead nigger storage"? Come on, Jimmy. No, Jules. Did you see a sign that said "dead nigger storage"? No, Jim, I did not. No, you didn't see a sign. You know why there wasn't a sign? Because storing dead niggers ain't my business.
And you look at... Oh, yeah. So, anyway, you look at that scene, and you look at Samuel L. Jackson's reaction, and he's like... And he looks like he's heard this spiel before.
I think it's like he knows, not heard the
like,
spiel, but he knows how his friend acts. He knows when his friend's being a smartass.
Oh no, here comes the dead nigger storage monologue
Here comes
again.
Jeremy being a smartass when he knows obviously didn't see this stuff and I just came from help. And I get his wife's hard ass. Like his wife, Jimmy's wife obviously wears the pants and he's a little afraid of his wife. And he's just like, damn it, Jimmy, I don't need this shit right now. All right, we got problems. We got problems, Jimmy. We got problems. We just need your help. I'm going to pay you back in any way. I got to replace the towels in your bathroom because they're all bloody and everything.
Yeah, well, Jules is taking that situation more seriously. He's very careful at how he washes his hands. Make sure... And then
Vincent's
you see
like,
blood on the towel. He's like, the fuck you doing?
He's like, what? I wash my hands. I saw you get them wet. I use the same soap as you. This is hard, man. I use the same soap. And the towel didn't look like a damn maxi pad out there. You gotta understand the Bonnie situation here. Like, you gotta really understand this situation. I like Bonnie. I wish I heard her character talk because it would have been hilarious. I like
just heard a gasp. Didn't even see her face.
So then Jules calls up Marcellus Wallace. He gets the wolf in, and Harvey Keitel's an amazing actor. Mm-hmm. And the wolf, I like it. It's 30 minutes away. I'll be there in 9 minutes and 37 seconds later. And then he comes in. He's like, what?
That's like another thing. That sounds like another thing that like student films would try to have. That's like if they want to have like the fake. Like the badass character, like Harvey Keitel's the wolf character.
Mr. Wolf. Winston Wolf.
Winston Wolf, yes. It's 30 minutes. I'll be there in 10. And you hear the actors and the young guys that are like going over the top, and you're like, it's not this.
Some of the things just can't be reduplicated. You don't duplicate it. I like how when the wolf gets there, he's got his little notepad with little notes like, you're Jimmy, you're Jules, you're Vincent. All right, we got this to do. We got 40 minutes. Fall meal, getting plenty of time. Raises his coffee black. Coffee was a lot of sugar, a lot of cream. They go into the garage. It's all bloody, and he's like, "All right, is there anything new?" I like how his character's very. I wouldn't say
I've done this before.
He's done it before. He's a veteran in his line of work, but he's not an anal-oriented man. He's a very just detailed, by the books, strict, disciplined guy who has steps.
Even when like Vincent says like I don't like people barking orders around with me, and he's, getting a stick up his ass about the way Harvey's just barking orders. Harvey's like,
Vincent's a very sensitive guy. If Vincent and Jules are kind of sensitive, but Vincent's a very sensitive dude. He doesn't like certain things happening, and he gets mad.
It's like he gives it, but he still gives Vincent what he wants, in a bittersweet sort of way, because he says, pretty please, clean the fucking car.
Oh yeah, pretty please with, was it a cherry?
Pretty please with the cherry on top.
Go clean the fucking car, yeah.
So it's like, all right, you give me what you want, but you got a little bit of that tell-off.
Like, kind of else to tell him, like, calm down, little boy. Like, look, we got a job to do, all right?
Yeah.
You need me. I don't need you. And then, I like when they're cleaning the car, Jules is like, he's like cussing up, starting, he's all pissed off. He's like, dude, look, you know the principle of like when a man says he's sorry, he's automatically forgiven. All right, he's like, I'm in the red, Jules. When you put a race car in the red, it's a bad idea. I'm about to explode. Well, I'm a
volcanic nuclear bomb about to drop on your ass.
Yeah, motherfucker. Yeah, it's like
in fact, why am I even doing this? It's you that should get to the backseat.
I'm fucking switching. And then it cuts to the car clean. It's not it's the same car, but it doesn't even look like the same car. And I like how they're still covered with blood. It's not like just like sprayed with blood paint. There's chunks of brain and skull and the. And it looks like they're covered in more blood. Yeah, like because they're cleaning the pools. And then they wash them off and hose them down, and then they give them the bars of soap. And he's like, after the words, like, what do they look like? Like a couple of dorks. Like a couple of dorks. Like, yeah, they're your clothes. Shut up. And then they go to Monster Joe's, Truck and Joe, they get rid of the car.
You expect it's going to be something, with the dorks line, you expect it's going to be something like really elaborate or some mixture of curse words.
Oh, like a reference to like a movie, but no, it's dorks.
Dorks. They look like a couple of dorks.
Yeah, I feel like that broke away from the writing because you think, oh, it's going to be a reference. It's like, dorks. Dorks. Simple. You're dorks.
Yeah, it's like, it's anti-quotable.
Oh, yeah.
You think it's going to be another quote. Like, nope. You know, oh, this is going to be another quote to add to this movie. No, they just look like a couple dorks.
Dorks. Just hey, simplicity, right? Golden. Simplicity's golden, huh? Mm-hmm. And then, so after they drop off the car with Marvin's body and their bag of bloody clothes at Monster Joe's, what was it? Monster Joe's
Truck and
Tow.
Yeah.
They drop them off. They're like, "Hey, you guys," and then the wolf's like, "Hey, you guys need a ride? Like, where do you live?" You're like, "Inglewood, Rodonda." I see in your future there's a taxi. You know, like I'm not driving either. And just like, screw you. And they go get breakfast. And then I like how it picks up, ends. The ending picks up where they begin. Yeah. And then they rob but they're still talking though. They're eating their breakfast, and I like the detail with this is that Jules is eating a muffin, while Vincent has the pancakes, eggs, and bacon. But at the beginning with the monologue at the beginning with Brett when he was talking about the Big Kahuna Burger, saying my girlfriend is a vegetarian, so I'm basically a vegetarian. Like going back to what I was saying, there's a bit of your own truth and opinion when messing with someone, when fucking with their mind. I actually think Jules is a bit of a vegetarian because after that whole eventful morning, from like what, about let's say 7:30, you get like from like 7:30 all the way to like close to 11. I would want to eat a big meal after that whole experience. I'm tired. I'm drained. He's just got a muffin. Got a muffin. So I think his character was telling the truth a little bit when he said, "I'm a vegetarian myself." I think that character's a bit of a vegetarian with that little detail of a muffin.
Yeah, and maybe he's actually going vegetarian as like his new path towards new faith.
Especially more now, like he's really going to stick to it. Okay.
Yeah, because it hinted at that, because he said, your asses would be dead, but I'm in a transitional period right now, so I'm giving you this chance.
Okay, so it's the little details of the whole thing. Yeah. And then I like his wallet, though. Bad motherfucker. That's a great wallet. I want that wallet.
Where would you get one other than a movie merchandise store nowadays?
Custom made. Custom make it. That's a custom made wallet.
Yeah.
And so when Ringo and Honey Bunny are robbing the place, Jules gets ready with his gun, and when Ringo comes up to him, he's like, no, I ain't giving you this, nah. And then he grabs him and he gets him to drop the gun and sits him down there and talks to him while Yolanda's freaking out, and everything. He's like, cool, tell that bitch to cool down, tell her everything's gonna be alright, tell her to lower the gun, man, tell her to go.
Say, bitch, cool. No, he actually tells him to specifically say, bitch, cool
Tell
down.
that bitch to cool down. And it's when Samuel Jackson's eyes about to pop out of his head, that means he means business. When his eyes are popping out of his head, every movie, every character he does, his eyes when they're like halfway popped out, it's like it's real.
I watched some of you guys. If you guys ever heard of Red Letter Media, I want to talk about Samuel L. Jackson's acting.
Oh yeah, go.
In Red Letter Media's, in one of their reviews for the Star Wars prequels, the famous Mr. Plinkett reviews, they were talking about Episode 2. And they were talking about how Samuel L. Jackson is completely miscast for that movie. Like, maybe someone like Forrest Whitaker or Morgan Freeman that can do the low voice expositional dialogue very well could pull off Mace Windu, even though it's an underwritten character. But Samuel L. Jackson doesn't have much to do because he's a character that likes to get he likes to play characters that get up in your face, that can raise their voice and lower their voice and get really intense in the highs and lows and then curse a lot. Mace Windu is none of that, and that's why Mace Windu is so boring. And they pointed out, well, the reason they did that is because Samuel L. Jackson was the most marketable black actor at the time. Yeah. So the theory is that George Lucas was cast him for very cynical, kind of racist reasons to get a demographic. Of course, we proved with Force Awakens. I never heard of John Boyega until he got cast for the new Star Wars movie. But if you look at the box office earnings, apparently that worked. So Lucas was wrong.
Keep going. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah. If you ever, the quintessential Samuel Jackson movies should not include the Star Wars movies on your listings if you ever just want to watch him in anything, because
if you want to get the full Samuel Jackson performance.
Even when he's in the Avengers, like, it's okay, this is Samuel Jackson actually acting. He's being given stuff to do because he's in action scenes, he's able to yell, he's able to, use his voice and be intense in situations.
His one eye.
Even if his one eye, he's able to be intense and, use his voice, whereas in the Star Wars Revenge of the Sith, he's like, the tyranny of the Sith will never return. And he just sounds awkward. He sounds like...
it's a different setup. I understand what you mean, though.
It's not giving him... Those movies don't give him, as an actor, much to do. So someone more reserved, like if they really wanted an African-American actor, like Morgan Freeman, Forrest Whitaker... I don't know if Sidney Poitier would have been too old by then.
Oh, by this time, he's a dude, but he's... I can see it.
It's like, those guys would have pulled that off.
So before we finish off, we almost forgot one scene. We want to backtrack a little bit because an out of order scene. It's the only flashback. It's the Christopher Walken Gold Watch monologue.
Yeah,
that's a great scene because the majority of it is serious and saying like this is the history of your family's watch, how your great-great-grandfather bought it before going to World War I, and then you pass it on to your grandfather. No, sorry, your great-grandfather, then pass it on to your grandfather, and then your grandfather passes it on to your dad before he went off to Vietnam. And then it's like a series.
And to build that up even more, we're going to get to the second half. The first half is shot. It's shot like close up to his face, but with some headroom to the side. To see him pick up the watch. The watch, and so then, very sentimental. And then it does for the second half. It's like I don't know how to explain it.
The last third, because 2/3 is all serious with that. Then the last,
but it's like
third,
it was more of a medium shot with him sitting down.
It's pulled back medium shot, like kind of like a whole showing the whole room behind him. And
it's a weird looking angle.
And then it goes straight to. He hid this hunk of metal up his ass. No, he'd be damned.
He'd be damned.
He'd be damned. And then you just go straight to comedical.
Right when you hear his voice cracking.
He'd be damned.
He'd be damned. And you're like, oh no.
And you're like, oh god. And then it goes, hit it up his ass. He had dysentery, then I hit it up my ass, and this is yours. And it's like, it's been up 2 men's buttholes, and one had dysentery. Oh, do I really want this? Has it been really cleaned? And is this going to end up in my butt when I have to hide it?
Which he should have thought about
before
leaving the apartment.
Yeah, if it's that meaningful to you, man, I get you leaving it up to your girlfriend, like you trust her, but if it's that meaningful, just keep it on you. Yeah. Just keep it on you. Like
your keys, your wallet.
Make her job easier. She's packing half the house. Make her job easier.
Yeah, but I've just realized that today, watching that again, I realized, okay, this is a scene. The monologue is funny, and the transition to the funny part, is there. There's starts off dramatic, but then it gets comedic.
All his films are full of serious situations, but comedic, funny moments that make you just laugh out loud and cry of tears and of joy, of laughter.
Yeah, and visually, not just in the writing, but also visually with the cinematography. That shows. Yeah, and it's shot at more conventional, dramatic angles, and then it just does this weird wide shot on him.
Yep, to add to it. And then, so now jumping back forward to the end, after all said and done, Honey Bunny and Pumpkin, they leave, And, and then it's just Jules and Vince. And Vince like, we should go. Yeah, let's get out of here. And they put their guns in their shorts and they walk out. And that's
no underwear, probably.
Yeah, they had no underwear. That movie's over. So, that being said, obviously everyone, critics, film writers, everyone, just talking. This is one of the 100 most greatest movies of all time.
By someone's list, I'm sure.
But mostly everyone's list. And to me, I think this is. But here, the main question is, and I'm going to ask you, Travis, is do you think this movie, Pulp Fiction, is going to be able to stand the test of time? So by the time we're 60, and this is on TCM, Turner Classic Movies for that time.
Boy, that'll be the day.
Is this a classic? Would you consider this a classic that after we're dead, this is something that's still going to be talked about?
I would say so.
Do you think it'll survive the test of time?
I think so, yeah. Because I think historically speaking, it'll stand the test of time because this came out kind of the beginning of what people call the beginning of the new American independent film movement.
Okay.
Which is so you had Tarantino's like probably the biggest star of them all, but this is also around the time when Clerks came out and Kevin Smith came to the scene. I don't know. Say what you.
Clerks.
Yeah, and I would say Quentin Tarantino has definitely made more of his career than Kevin Smith has as a filmmaker. But this is kind of when independent films are starting to become a thing. VHS was getting popular, so it's like
because the new technology's coming out.
New ways to get your films distributed, and out of many film students, film students to this day still try to rip off Tarantino. It's so annoying when they do, and it's like stop.
So because of how they do that, that's why you think this film was gonna be a classic because it's it's just so like people gravitate to it so much.
It's gonna be that movie that you're like that'll represent. Because I've been thinking about this for many years. So like, how is the '90s going to be defined? And I think one of the ways the 90s is going to be defined is with this movie. Like, in that it merely came out in the 90s, but it doesn't scream 90s. It's not like watching Top Gun where it feels like such an 80s movie.
So if someone, let's say, remade this movie...
God forbid.
They should. I don't like remakes, but if they're going to redo this movie, it's so good. Do you think that they could put it in the 80s, and keep the dialogue, maybe tweak it, but keep the majority of the dialogue and just set in the 80s, you think?
Maybe.
I mean, obviously, the thing about
I don't think it would matter.
No, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's that good that it could... Yeah. Because it can stand the test of time.
You could probably put this maybe... Yeah. Probably you could set this in the 80s, the 70s, maybe maybe not the 60s.
I wouldn't say that because in the 70s, because then the whole Watch story changes. Butch's dad has to go to Vietnam, so it can't go too far back. That's why I only did one decade back.
Probably have his dad be a World War II veteran, and then his grandpa be World War II, and then
grandfather's or the dad's Korean War.
Oh, yeah.
The grandfather can still be World War II, World War I, or the great grandfather can be Civil War, World War I, World War II. Boom. Mm-hmm. If you're going to change it, but I feel like that would change a big chunk. But that's why I only did it to the 80s. I mean, the only thing I can see it being the 80s is the whole dialogue is Vincent's drug dealer says that Coke's dying, heroin's back. Because Coke was big in the 80s.
I don't even know if I don't even know if like lines with that would even matter because like how would anybody really know that
just
Coke
the culture,
heroin became the new thing? I guess. But it's something so on.
So this movie is definitely going to stand the test of time.
I absolutely think so.
Could you keep rewatching this movie?
Sure.
Yeah. All right.
Maybe not today, but
I
would definitely want to rewatch it again.
Could you watch it back to back in one day?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
I might get annoyed the third time because I'd probably say I want to watch something else because.
Yeah, but you could do a double back.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that wraps us up right now, ladies and gentlemen, for our first episode of our Throwback Thursday segment. Thanks once again for joining us. Thank you, Travis, for coming and being a part of this first episode.
Thank you very much. You can follow me on Twitter. My name is Travis M. Baker. My Twitter handle is @musicalnoteXDR. Subscribe to my YouTube channel, too, if you want. I do reviews of old movies as well as TV shows as soon as their recent seasons end. And look at my Facebook as well.
And Travis will be continuing to return to this YouTube channel as well. We're going to have you back for our other segments as well.
When I have the time, yes.
Once again, I'm Tom Flores.
I'm Travis Baker.
Thanks you so much for joining us for this Throwback Thursday segment of Combo number 2. We'll catch you on the next episode. Catch you later, everyone.
Bye. Goodbye.